Hello everyone and welcome back to this build of Shards. Today we are going over a little bit about the vision of Shards and how Shard is going to work, how it already works and how it already has replaced my work-tree-manager skill. We can already today use Shards as a CLI to help us launch coding agents inside of isolated environment directly into a work tree. Here is a quick demo of how that works. By just giving Claude Code an instruction, it opens a new work tree and it launches Claude Code directly for me inside of my terminal. This basically means that Claude Code becomes our orchestrator. We can also basically do this. Can you please launch 5 more for test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And you can see here we now get 5 other terminals. Can you please run the status command to see what we have currently running? Excellent. Can you please now close all of our terminals and also clean up our work trees? So with just a few simple natural language prompts here, basically I turn Claude Code into our orchestrator. You can see it can open terminals, it can close terminals, it can launch Claude Code, it can launch Codex, Gemini, Kiro, anything. And it has a skill. It basically manages everything for us. So this is beautiful. Today we're going to dig into what our UI is also going to look like. So we're going to build a UI on top of this CLI, and it's basically going to let us track open projects. We're going to be able to favorite Git directories here, and we're going to be able to track open shards. We're going to be able to close shards directly from here, start new ones in new terminals. We will also eventually build our own terminal UI. So we will have basically a Tmux style terminal window in here where we can have a bunch of different things going on for us in parallel. And we're going to be able to trace everything. We're going to have a little bit of a dashboard to see what's going on, track some stats. I think it's going to be really cool. So if you enjoyed this, if you want to see what happens and how we build this, please follow along. If you want to see more of this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. It really goes a long way for me and helps me out and shows me that it's worth for me to continue making these recordings. I hope that you enjoy it. Let's now dig into the video. So today we're jumping straight back in here. Unfortunately, today I missed some of my recordings. I've actually already started doing some work, but luckily it was mostly me reading code and actually reviewing work that we have done previous days. Essentially what I've done, I have reviewed our entire code base. We had a few issues that I also had to address. For example, we had some issue with actual terminal handling and stuff like that that I had to fix. It was actually quite a bad issue, but it was pretty simple to fix. I've also done some planning around what comes next, so we'll get in a little bit into this today, what is coming next. We're also going to go over here now in detail, basically what the visualization is for the application that we're building. So just very quickly, we already have the Shards CLI working. What basically it allows me to do, it allows me to write shards create, and that essentially opens a terminal window for me with Claude Code or any other CLI, and it already is isolated in its own work tree. So it basically is a little bit of a management for creating and handling the life cycle of these environments or work trees and closing them and so on. And we also have an agent skill. We have a Claude Code skill, which is basically right now just a markdown document explaining to Claude Code or any other CLI how to use the CLI so we can run these type of commands and manage all of our environments like that. So it's a very simple way for us to kind of like manage our work trees. We can just take a quick look at how it works. So here I can just launch Claude Code inside of Shards, and I'm just going to tell Claude Code here to, can you please launch a shard in ghostty with Claude Code? You can just name it test. Yeah, so it launches the shard skill, and what it should really do, it basically just runs this command, cargo run create test agent Claude terminal ghosty. We can basically configure what to name it, which agent to run, and in which terminal to run it in. And you can see here it launches my ghosty terminal, and we're straight into Claude Code inside of our work tree test. I'm going to close that out. Perfect. Can you please kill it and also clean up the work tree? So now I can just tell it to do that for me much quicker than it would be to have Claude Code or any other of these coding agents basically do it for me with the normal worktree or git worktree commands. So I wouldn't have to like cd into the everything. So yeah, this basically just handles everything for me. It basically turns Claude Code into the orchestrator that orchestrates all of my worktrees, because it can also track how many worktrees do I have open, how many of them have active sessions in them from any of my agents. Are they active? I haven't looked at this yet, but when I realized that my recording wasn't going is when I asked this question here. So I just basically pasted my PRD, my vision for the front end, to ask to build me a visual thing to show me or to visualize the PRD essentially. So let's see what this looks like. Roadmap, architecture, okay, principles. Yeah, I meant more like if you can draw the UI for me in some way to visualize what it will look like. What I'm envisioning is something like this. I'm going to send you a little bit of an image to help you out as well. And for those of you who have seen previous days, you will remember this. This is basically the little bit of a drawing we did to envision the front end. I'm just going to give it this, and let's see if it can give us some kind of better visualization here. But at the meantime, we can just take a look at this. So what we'll do, we'll build a GP UI front end that has some project scaffolding, and we will add, just basically make sure that it works and compiles in the first two phases. Then we will be able to list all of our active shards, our active sessions. Then we should be able to create shards, destroy and restart, see the dashboard and statuses of everything. And then we want to be able to give it favorites. So I want to be able to favorite my most used directories or Git repositories, essentially. Then for the future, we also want embedded terminals. We want to build our own terminal solution, so it will be easiest for us to manage everything. And for the future as well, something that is going to be quite cool eventually is to build in basically agent orchestration straight into shards using Claude Code CLI and Codex CLI is the main plan. And that will essentially allow us to orchestrate and pipe in information into our shards, so we can basically control agents straight from one orchestrator agent. So we can basically tell our orchestrator to send prompt to shard number 1, for example. So yeah, that will be later. Architecture, we will have a shards core library, and then we will have a CLI and a UI. So we will have 3 different cargoes here, or crates. So we will have a shards UI that can be built separately, a CLI that can be packaged separately, and then we will have, of course, the core that orchestrates everything. And yeah, some principles here that we want to add. This is basically just what I'm going to be adding to my Claude.md once we start, because at some point, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to move from using Kiro over to Claude Code. I've already been doing a little bit of that today because I was doing a lot of debugging and refactoring here earlier, or actually reviewing, maybe not refactoring right away. And I actually ended up using Claude Code quite a lot for that with Kiro CLI, and even it worked. It was tedious. It took a long time. I had to over explain everything all the time. So what I have done so far, I have basically done an analysis of the refactor I need to do before I can enable us to start building the UI. And all I really did was I went in to look at how the structure looks like at the moment inside of our IDE. So if we just open Kiro here, we can see we have a source. Everything is kind of like just coupled together here. We have a little bit of separation for the CLI, but not too much. If we take a look at some of these files here, yeah, this is not the main one, but we have some really long ones. But yeah, anyways, we have a lot of like coupled logic, not clear separation between a lot of these. So we want to do a little bit of restructure. But the main reason why we want to do the restructure is because we want to have the free packages. So we want to have the core in one folder, in one crate, and we want to have another crate with the CLI, and then we want to prepare another crate for the UI. So that is something I really want to do before I start building the UI. So sometimes when you do this, of course, moving slow is actually moving fast. Like slow down and pay attention before you start doing any like major decisions. So up until now, we have more or less been building like a POC. We have been building fairly quickly. We have done mostly AI assisted reviewing. We haven't done a lot of manual reviewing up until today. So today, when I actually started to take a look at the code here, I did realize that there are a lot of things that are a bit problematic. So we want to make sure that we can, well, refactor this, clean it up a little bit before we continue digging into the rest of the stuff. So that's what we're going to do now. We are essentially going to kick off one of our plans already. So I have already started planning this refactor. So this is something that I also was planning to run right now. So I'm going to kick that off. I'm going to do it over here. So this can basically run in the background when we are talking about the rest of the stuff here. So I have a couple of terminals going on here. Here is where I did most of my research. I've been using all of these three basically to do research, and I'm right now ready to kick off this implementation. I'm going to use Claude Code for this implementation because I have already tried this implementation with the Kiro CLI. It missed the mark completely of what I wanted it to do, even though the plan is super simple actually. It essentially what it does is it adds a cleanup flag for worktrees because we kept having orphaned worktrees. I just want to have a flag so I can do cleanup dash orphans and it will clean up every worktree that doesn't have an active session. So yeah, I'm just going to kick this plan off and let's see if Claude Code does a better job than Kiro did. And then we're going to start doing the major refactoring. So we actually have 4 refactoring tasks. I split it up into 4 phases. So the first one is this one. What this one essentially is going to do, you can go in and read this, of course. I'm going to publish all of this in the Shards repo, so you can go in and read it if you want to. But it's basically going to take our initial state, like we have here, and it's going to refactor it into this. So we're going to have our CLI crate and we're going to have our UI crate. And that's it. And that's going to help us also later with distribution if we want to install the CLI. So the CLI is probably that's what I'm going to start using basically already. So after today, I'm going to already start using the CLI. I'm going to replace my worktree skill that I have on my GitHub. I know probably a lot of you already use it. I have at least, I know that some of you do at least, but I'm basically going to replace that skill with shards. Shards is basically doing exactly what that skill is doing, but in a more traceable and a little bit more robust way. It basically tells us here how to split everything up. It gives some mandatory reading, documentation to read, patterns to mirror. So yeah, very standard plan here, how my plans usually look like. I've already validated this. I already also tried to run it with Kiro CLI, this one as well. Kiro did not do a good job of this refactoring either, so I'm going to run this with Claude Code as well. Mainly because I can't be bothered to go over the same kind of pain I did before when I didn't record. So I'm just going to do it with Claude Code. I think that if you use Kiro CLI and if you use Opus, it's going to do a much better job. But yeah, I'm just going to want to get this done at this point. I don't want to do this and fail again with Kiro CLI. But what I'm going to do, probably not today, but tomorrow, I think we're going to be ready to start building the UI. I'm going to actually do a little bit of a test. I'm going to do Codex, I'm going to do Claude Code, and I'm going to do Kiro CLI in parallel, all 3 building the exact same feature. And I'm going to do a little bit of comparison. So we're going to basically do phase 1, 2, and 3 of the UI plan tomorrow. And then we're going to compare the results out of all of those 3 agents. So we're going to do a little bit of comparison. We're going to build everything in parallel in separate workstrees. We're going to use shards, of course, to do it. So it's basically done. I'm just going to pull that over. Let's take a look at how this turned out. Yeah, so this is very similar to what I'm kind of imagining. So we basically plus here, we create shards, base branch, create shard. It will come up here. Then we have this, and this one will essentially just be a terminal eventually. But for now, it will basically, if we click plus here, it will basically just launch. For me, it will launch ghostty, but you can configure iTerm or some other terminal, and it will basically just track that and have a dashboard. But yeah, this looks good. So this is essentially what it will look like. I like this a lot. I don't like necessarily the theme and the colors. I have actually a custom theme that I want to be using. It's going to be very similar to my custom catppuccin theme here. So we're going to use this as some kind of base colors and base theme for the Shards application as well. So yeah, I think it's going to look quite cool We want to have a status bar probably at the top here that shows usage stats. And yeah, I think it looks good. We essentially have 8 phases to go through before we get into building any kind of custom terminals here. Okay, but I like that. What we are also going to be able to do once we are starting to build the UI, we are also going to be able to do some work on the CLI core features. So I have a couple of more things I want to do here to the CLI. Yeah, so some things that we want to add to the CLI. Also, we can do this in parallel. So we are going to do the UI and we're going to extend the CLI in parallel. And we are going to want to have a note on create. And what this essentially does, it allows us to, maybe we will have a name instead of a note, but essentially what it does, we use it to know what the shard is about. So it's going to help us kind of like search and fuzzy match if we want to search for the shard later on. And also if you want to open it in the editor. So that's also something that can be quite annoying if you have like files, if you want to review things in a work tree, you have to like cd into that work tree and open your editor there. So I just want to have like a shards open, and it's going to open my editor on that work tree right away. And yeah, maybe we will have some more of these things here as well. At least we will start with those 4. These I'm not sure if we're going to have or not. I haven't really validated the whole thing here yet. But yeah, definitely some of these things we want to gonna add. We're gonna add git diff so that we can get the diff from each work tree, so we can have stats from the diff in shards. Commits, bulk destroying, maybe. Fuzzy matching is something that I want to have, so we're gonna have fuzzy matching on branch names and on nodes. History we are gonna want to have at some point. So yeah, quick aliases. So this is essentially another PRD that we're going to have. We're going to have keyboard shortcuts. I want to be able to have keyboard shortcuts for everything so that I can very quickly navigate between certain things in the Shards UI. But yeah, some other ideas here. So this is more or less not fully scoped yet, but we're going to start scoping this as well tomorrow, because as we start building the UI, we're going to want to plan this and do it in parallel. Okay, so we are ready. We're going to clear this out and let's take a look. I'm going to say, please create a PR. And now, since we have that, I kind of want to get this merged in quickly so that we can start on the big refactor or the bigger refactor as soon as possible. Yeah, so it's added formatting. I'm going to here run 54. So I'm just going to do /review 54. So the reason I'm not doing this in a more parallel way is because I cannot do anything. I need this in before I can do this. And I need this refactoring in before I can continue with anything else. So I'm going to build this. It's going to take a while. So our time is going to basically run out as I'm doing that, most likely. And especially considering I have already spent some time today, I'm potentially going to run some fixes on that code review. Then I'm going to run the big refactor. And then I'm going to run, let's take a look here. So I have my issues here. I have 50, 51, 52, 53, which is all refactoring tasks. These all come after the big refactor. This is basically some smaller cleanups, just splitting large files into smaller files and extracting some helper functions and stuff. So it's not that large work. It's pretty simple stuff. No logic changes, just restructuring code. But I really want to have that for making it simpler for me later on. So all this work that we're doing now are really going to help us move much quicker here down the line. So that's really the goal here. I might kick all of these off in Archon by just adding, as we did yesterday, I just need to add a comment here to kick Archon off. So I might do that, or I'm just going to run it through Claude Code, because I think I can run 50 and then I can run the rest of them in parallel. But I'm going to have to do some dependency checking there. But yeah, here is our PR. Should be good. A lot of formatting in here. So it found some important issues. Session files missing worktree path. Okay, that one we want to fix. We want to actually fix all the silent failures. We don't want any silent failures. Oh, Jesus. A lot of silent failures. So as I have been reviewing this as well, from everything we have built so far with Kiro, 2 patterns I keep seeing. A lot of duplicate code and a lot of silent failures. Quite crappy error handling and subpar type design. So there are definitely some issues here in what Kiro has built for us so far, but we also haven't been too strict on the reviewing, so it's acceptable. But that's why we have to do this work now. Before our code base gets out of hand and gets too large, it's going to make it a lot harder to do this work later. But it's actually going to be quite simple to do this now. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to tell it here to please address all the issues. We don't want any silent failures here. Okay, if you guys have any ideas or feature requests of things that you would like to see in Shards, maybe you have some ideas for what the UI should be doing, please let me know down below. I think it's going to be very interesting to kind of make this into more of an interactive build where you guys can also be helping out and deciding the direction for Shards. And yeah, I hope some of you try it out as well and give me some feedback, what works for you. Currently, it also doesn't support Windows. So if someone wants to help me maybe with the Windows part of the application, please reach out to me, because feel free to collaborate on that. I'm not going to be bothered to like set up some kind of virtual Windows environment for myself to build it out myself. But if there is enough request for Windows support, I might build it out later. But it's not something I have plans for right now. I'm building this tool for myself mainly. I'm going to be using it. So it only needs to work for me unless we get a lot of people on it. I think right now we have 7 forks, 18 stars. I'm not sure if anyone is actually using it yet. But yeah, I hope that you guys like this build and get a lot out of these sessions. I know that today was a little bit messy because I had already done major part of what I planned to put in the video before I started recording, because I thought I was recording, but unfortunately I had, for some reason, not pressed the record button, so I apologize for that. Tomorrow we will get more back into building again, and yeah, tomorrow we should really enable to do a lot of things in parallel. But I'm just going to continue. I'm going to make sure that we finish this refactoring today. It's nothing fun to look at. If you want to see how I did it, it's all going to be all the plans, all the report files, everything is going to be in the Shards repo. So if you want to dissect that, feel free. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. We are going to do this series here. I'm going to do tomorrow is my last day with Kiro, because tomorrow was the last day for the original hackathon. I'm going to continue building Shards, but I'm going to abandon Kiro a little bit. I'm still going to be using Kiro because I kind of want to use the credits. And we're going to dig into how hooks work a little bit more. And we're going to dig into more of the Kiro features. I'm also going to do more of a review video of my experience with Kiro for these, I don't know what we've had now, 15 days or so. And yeah, I'm going to give my honest review, compare it to Claude Code, what I think is good, what I think is bad. And yeah, I hope that you guys will enjoy that as well. I'm going to continue doing videos every day, probably for the entire next week, but then I'm going to kind of slow down a little bit, go to another schedule. But I'm going to try to continue posting at least once a week, maybe more. And yeah, we're going to start building some cool things on this channel, I hope. So please and subscribe, and I will see you next time.